It hits you like a quiet explosion. The doctor's mouth moves, words falling out, but they don't reach you. Cancer. The sentence hangs in the air like a stranger. You try to grab it, understand it, make it smaller, something your mind can swallow. But it refuses. It stays big, heavy, real. You blink, waiting for the scene to change, like in movies when the nightmare ends. It doesn't. You're still sitting in that chair, hands slightly shaking, heartbeat loud in your ears. This is not a test, not a dream, not something you can wake up from. You think about calling him, the one person you always believed would answer, the one who promised he would be there. You dial. Once. Twice. It rings. No answer. You tell yourself he is busy. Maybe at work. Maybe sleeping. Maybe something small. But hours pass. Messages seen, no reply. When he finally responds, his voice is different. Cold. Short. As if you're a problem he doesn't have time to solve. No comfort. No questions. No words that make it feel like you are not falling apart. Just silence dressed as conversation. That is the moment you understand something painful. You're facing this alone. Not in a dramatic, heroic way, just in the quiet reality that no one can carry it for you. People will sympathize. They will say they are sorry. They will send prayers and sad emojis. But at night, when your mind screams, it will be you and the ceiling. You and your thoughts. You and the fear. The world shrinks. The things that once mattered, arguments, plans, small disappointments, fade. They become meaningless noise. Friends message less. Conversations feel lighter, shorter, not because they are cruel, but because discomfort makes people retreat. They don't know what to say. They don't want to say the wrong thing. So they say nothing. Family looks at you differently, like you are fragile, like a glass they might break if they touch it. Their pity stings more than comfort. You want to tell them you are still you, still strong, still alive. But words get stuck. You fight the urge to cry. Not because crying is weak, but because once you start, you might not stop. You tell yourself you will survive. You repeat it like a mantra. I will survive. Not for them. Not for anyone's approval. For you. Because this life, this body, still belongs to you. The disease is real, but so is your will. So is your breath. So is the fact that you are still here. Everything broke that day. The illusion of permanence. The belief that tomorrow is guaranteed. The idea that love and support are always constant. It hurt. It still hurts. But in the breaking, there's also truth. You see things clearly. You understand what matters. You understand that strength is not about pretending you are fine. It is about continuing even when you are not. It is about choosing to fight, not because you are fearless, but because you are human. You are not the first person to face darkness, and you will not be the last. But this is your story, your battle, your chance to find meaning even in pain, to rebuild slowly, piece by piece, to become someone who understands life's fragility and still chooses to live. The first time I walk into the hospital for chemotherapy, it feels like stepping into another world. The smell hits me first, sterile, sharp, faintly metallic. It mixes with something else I can't place, the faint hint of antiseptic masking fear. Faces pass me in the hallway, pale and tired, eyes glazed from exhaustion or medicine or both. Some of them glance at me and nod politely. Others don't look at all, lost in their own private battles. I feel both invisible and hypervisible at the same time. Every step I take is measured, careful, like I'm learning the weight of my body all over again. The needles, the machines, the slow drip of chemicals. I feel the burn inside me before the medication even reaches my veins. It is a fire that doesn't roar, it simmers. Sharp aches crawl under my skin. Weakness seeps into my bones. I am still me, but a version stretched thin, fragile in ways I never imagined. I want to scream. I want to curl up somewhere and disappear. But I also want to survive. And so I sit. I wait. I endure. Sometimes, when the pain is bearable enough to lift my phone, I send him a text. Short words, nothing that shows the chaos inside me. Just small updates, a check-in, a silent reach for reassurance. Hours pass. Sometimes a reply comes. Sometimes it doesn't. When it does, it is brief, detached. I realize that waiting for him to feel what I feel is a kind of weight I cannot carry anymore. I am learning that survival is mine alone, even if it feels unfair, even if it feels lonely. So I start counting little victories. Today I ate a meal. Today I walked down the hall without holding onto the railing. Today I laughed, however faintly, at something that wasn't meant to be funny. Each small victory is a spark, a reminder that I still exist, still fight. The days feel endless, but within the monotony, these sparks are enough to keep me moving forward. Enough to remind me that strength is not a spectacle. It does not need an audience. It is quiet. It is small. It is deliberate. There is a nurse who becomes a quiet anchor in the chaos. She moves through the ward with a calmness that makes you believe in her certainty. Her smile is not forced. It carries a weight, a message that hope is not lost, even here, even now. She tells stories of patients who survived, people who walked through fire and came out still standing. I cling to those stories like someone drowning clings to driftwood. They are proof. Proof that survival is possible. Proof that strength lives in the choices you make when no one is watching. Proof that even broken bodies can endure. I begin to notice that inner strength is not about denial. It is not about pretending the pain isn't there or that fear doesn't exist. It is about showing up anyway. It is about choosing to breathe when every cell of your body wants to collapse. It is about honoring your own fragility while refusing to surrender. Strength is quiet. It is the decision to lift your head, even when it feels heavy, and keep moving step by step, day by day. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, I start to feel it, that small, unshakable pulse inside me. The part of myself I thought might have broken the day, I learned the truth. It is stubborn. It refuses to be silenced. I am learning that survival is not a dramatic gesture. It is the accumulation of tiny, determined acts. Eating a meal, taking a breath, sending a message, smiling back at someone who believes in you. I may be alone in this fight. The world may shrink around me, but I am not powerless. Each decision to continue, each small step forward, is a victory that belongs to me and me alone. The fire inside me is quiet, but it is real. And in its quiet warmth, I find something I didn't expect, a sense of purpose, a sense of self, a proof that even in isolation, I can endure. Even alone, I can rise. The day I finally meet him, I tell myself it will be different, that he will look at me and see everything I've been going through, that he will ask questions, that he will care. I rehearse the words in my head before I even arrive. I will tell him I am scared, that I don't feel strong, that I need him, not to fix it, not to have all the answers, but just to be there, just to look at me like I still matter. But when I see him, something shifts. He avoids my eyes, not in a small way, not like someone distracted. It is deliberate, like looking at me might force him to acknowledge something uncomfortable. The hospital visits, the texts he ignored, the nights I spent awake, wondering if he even thought about me. I search his face for something, anything, but it feels distant, guarded. He says he is busy. Life is complicated. Short sentences, safe sentences, words that don't invite conversation. I want to believe him. I want to tell myself it is not personal, that people get caught up in things, that maybe he's struggling too. But deep down, I know the difference between being busy and being absent. I know what it feels like when someone tries. This isn't trying. I explain it anyway. I tell him how scared I am, how some nights I lie in bed and imagine worst-case scenarios I can't escape, how the hospital smells still cling to me, how I feel smaller, like a version of myself is fading. I don't cry while I say it. I keep my voice steady. I want him to hear me. He shrugs, not dramatically, not cruelly, just a small movement. The kind of shrug that says, I don't know what you want me to do. That is when it cuts deeper than anything I have experienced. Medical needles hurt, but they are temporary. They have a purpose. They are part of healing. This indifference feels different. It feels like being erased, like my emotions are inconvenient, like the pain I carry is too heavy for him to look at. I search his eyes one last time. There is nothing there. No recognition, no softness, no promise to stay. just distance. I want to beg him to understand. I want to tell him that I am not asking for perfection. I'm not asking for solutions. I just want to feel like I'm not alone in this world, that someone sees me, that someone believes I am worth staying for. If I don't beg, I swallow the words. I step back. The silence between us is louder than anything I could say. It stretches, uncomfortable, unavoidable. I feel invisible, not in a dramatic way. No spotlight, no audience, no grand tragedy. Just the quiet kind of invisibility. The kind where people look at you and see something else. A burden, a problem, a reminder of things they don't want to think about. I wonder if he sees me at all, or if I have become a ghost in his mind, someone he once cared about, but now only remembers in fragments. I tell myself I will be strong, that I will handle it, that I will walk away with dignity. So I do. I turn. I leave first. I pretend I am fine. It is the easiest lie, the one people believe. I walk out of that place with my head held up, but inside something cracks. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a small fracture. A breaking point. I spend the night crying. For the first time in months. The tears surprise me. I thought I was past this. I thought I had hardened myself, built walls, learned to survive. But grief doesn't work that way. It waits. It lingers. It comes in waves. That night, the wave hits me. I cry until I can't breathe properly, until my chest hurts, until the room feels too big and too small at the same time. I ask myself questions I don't have answers to. Did I ever matter to him? Was I just convenient? A presence he liked when life was easy? Someone he could walk away from when things got complicated? I replay memories, small moments, laughs, conversations, promises. Were they real? Or did I imagine depth where there was only surface? It is dangerous to think like this, to rewrite the past, to search for signs that were never there. But I can't stop, because betrayal is not always loud. It doesn't always come with dramatic confrontations or clear villains. Sometimes it is quiet, a slow realization, a gap between what you believed and what is actually true. I believed I mattered. I believed I would not face everything alone. I believed he would stay. I was wrong. That realization hurts more than I expected. It feels like losing something important, trust, maybe, or the idea that love and loyalty are stable things. I tell myself it does not mean I am worthless. It does not mean I am unlovable. It means I trusted someone who could not meet that trust. The difference matters. I cry, but I also think. I think about what this means. I think about survival. Not just physical survival, but emotional survival. Because life has already taken so much from me. I will not let this destroy me too. He walked away. That is the truth. I cannot change it. I cannot force someone to care. I cannot beg for attention. I cannot rebuild something that was never strong enough. But I can rebuild myself. Slowly, piece by piece. I can learn that my worth is not defined by someone else's ability to stay. I can learn that I deserve compassion, even if it comes from myself. I cry that night, but I also breathe. I remind myself that pain does not mean the end. It means I'm still feeling, still human, still alive. And as long as I am alive, there's a chance to move forward, to heal, to become something stronger than I was before. Even if I walk that path alone, I decide I will not wait for someone else to validate me. That lesson hurt, but it also freed something inside me. For too long, I measure my worth by other people's reactions, by messages that never came, by conversations that ended too soon, by the way someone looked away when I needed them to look closer. That is not how survival works. That is not how healing works. If I keep waiting for permission to move forward, I will remain stuck. So I stop waiting. I start small, reading, writing, walking when I can. Nothing dramatic, nothing grand, just choices. The kind of choices that rebuild a life one step at a time. The first time I sit down to write about everything I'm feeling, the words come out messy. Broken. I don't try to sound strong. I don't filter the pain. I write about fear, about loneliness, about the nights I stared at the ceiling wondering if I would wake up stronger or weaker. I write about the betrayal, the disappointment, the way I thought love was a constant and discovered it could disappear. It hurts to write it, but also helps, because putting words to pain makes it smaller. Not insignificant, not erased, Smaller in the sense that I can see it. I can understand it. I can carry it without letting it crush me. I document the journey, not for sympathy, not for applause, not to prove anything to anyone. I do it for healing, for myself, for the version of me that exists beyond hospital visits and medical reports. I want to remember that I am more than my diagnosis, more than the days I spent feeling weak, more than the relationships that failed. I am a human being with thoughts and dreams and the capacity to change. That realization is powerful. It changes how I look at the world. I meet new people, not many, just a few. People who understand that pain exists in different forms. Some of them have faced their own struggles, illness, loss, heartbreak. Others simply have the ability to listen. They don't fix me. They don't try to offer empty solutions. They sit with me in the discomfort. They acknowledge what I'm going through. That kind of presence matters. More than advice, more than cliches, more than someone telling me everything will be fine. Because healing is not about being fixed overnight. It is about being seen. It is about knowing that I am not invisible. I begin to see myself differently. Not as a patient, not as a victim, not as someone defined by hardship. I start to see myself as a fighter, a survivor in the making. That does not mean I am invincible. It does not mean I never feel weak. Some days are still hard. Some mornings I wake up exhausted before the day even begins. There are moments when fear whispers in my ear, reminding me of everything I cannot control. But I do not let that voice define me. I acknowledge it. I feel it. And then I choose to move forward. One step, one breath, one small victory at a time. I go for walks when I can. Not long ones, not strenuous ones, just enough to feel the sun on my skin and the air in my lungs. Nature becomes a quiet teacher. It reminds me that growth takes time. Trees do not rush to grow. They root themselves first. They build strength in silence. Then, when the time comes, they reach toward the sky. I want to be like that. Rooted, strong, willing to grow even when the process is slow. I start to document the good moments as well. A day when I laugh. A conversation that makes me feel understood. A meal I enjoy. Small things, but meaningful things. Because healing is not only about acknowledging pain. It is about recognizing joy, however small. It is about finding balance. The cancer remains part of my story. I cannot erase it. I cannot pretend it never happened. It shaped me. It changed me. It forced me to confront truths I would have otherwise avoided. But it is not the end of me. That is the difference. A chapter is not the whole book. An experience is not the entirety of a person. I'm still here. I still have time. Time to grow. Time to learn. Time to become someone stronger than I was before. I begin to understand what it means to be a survivor. It is not about perfection. It is not about pretending everything is fine. It is about continuing, even when it is hard, even when the road ahead is uncertain. It is about refusing to give up on myself. That decision matters, more than I realized, because self-transformation is not a sudden event. It is a process, a slow unfolding, a series of choices that lead to change. I choose to believe in that process. I choose to believe that I can become something greater than my circumstances. Not greater in the sense of superiority, greater in the sense of resilience, in the sense of understanding my own strength. I am a fighter, not because I never fall, but because I get back up. I am a survivor, not because I have no scars, but because I wear them as proof that I endured. The journey is not over. It never truly is. Healing is ongoing. Growth is ongoing. Life is ongoing. And as long as I am here, I will keep moving forward. I will keep becoming. I will keep rising. The ashes are not the end. They are the beginning of something new. Months pass. The hospital smells fade from my memory. The ache in my body dulls in the background. But the lessons remain. I have learned the weight of my own strength, the quiet pulse of resilience that no one else can give me. And then, suddenly, he appears again. I see him across a room, or maybe it is just a doorway, but it feels monumental. His eyes meet mine, and something is different this time. There's a shift I cannot ignore. Maybe it is regret. Maybe it is fear. Maybe it is love still buried under the rubble of his absence. I don't know. I only know that this time, he looks at me with a vulnerability I have not seen before. He says he made mistakes. He begs me for another chance. The words hit me like a cold wind after a long summer. I listen. I breathe. I let him speak. I let him speak because silence would have made it worse, and because I want to hear him, not to soften, not to excuse, not to forget, but to understand what this moment means for both of us. He talks about how he was scared, about how life overwhelmed him, about how he failed to be present when it mattered most. His voice shakes. His hands fidget. He is human. Fragile in the way I have learned all humans are when confronted with the consequences of their actions. And I realize something. I have changed. I'm not the same person who waited by the phone for his attention, who held my breath hoping he would answer. I'm not the person who needed his approval to feel alive. I am not the person who measured my worth by his presence. I can see it clearly now. I tell him how I felt abandoned. I tell him the nights I cried alone. The fear that gripped me when I thought the world had no one for me. The silence that cut deeper than any needle or pain. I tell him about the loneliness, the betrayal, and the quiet hours I spent learning to survive without him. I speak calmly, deliberately, not to wound him, but to release the weight that has been mine for too long. He listens. He doesn't interrupt. He cannot. The words are heavy, and he is forced to bear them this time. He hears what it felt like to be unseen, what it meant to have someone walk away when it mattered most. And I realize that this is not about revenge. I do not speak to hurt. I speak to honor myself. He waits for an answer. A part of me remembers the longing I once felt, the hope I once clung to, the idea that his love could save me from despair. That part still whispers small and faint, but I do not follow it blindly. I have learned the cost of depending on someone else to validate my life. I survived without him, not just physically, not just emotionally, but completely. I built myself in the spaces where he left emptiness. I found strength in quiet choices, in the persistence of daily life, in the small victories that no one could give me. I see now that my survival was never about him. It was about me. And so I make a choice. I choose a future where I value myself first. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, not to punish him for the absence that hurt me so deeply. I choose because I finally understand my own worth. Because I have felt the power of being whole, even when the world feels cruel and lonely. Because I refuse to shrink myself to fit into someone else's comfort or fear. He swallows, silent this time, as if he knows there is nothing he can say to change the decision I have made. And in that silence, I feel a strange peace. I feel the culmination of months spent learning to stand alone, to survive, to rise. I do not need him to stay. I do not need his apology to heal. I do not need his love to validate the person I have become. I have carried myself through fire, through abandonment, through illness, through betrayal. I have faced the darkest corners of fear and walked forward anyway. And now, standing here, I see the clarity that comes from knowing that the only validation I will ever need is my own. I step away, not in anger, not in hatred, not in loss, but in recognition of my own worth. I step away with the dignity that was denied to me for so long. I step into a future where my choices, my happiness, my survival are mine to protect and honor. He begged me to live, but I do not live because he asked me to. I live because I finally remember that I am the one who deserves life, respect, and love first. And that is the power of choosing yourself. It is quiet. It is profound. It is unshakable. I am alive. I am standing. I am whole. And no one, no absence, no betrayal, no regret can take that from me.